When we reveal, I'm going to just say this right now. When we reveal come July 1, all the stuff coming, I'm just going to say we the place to be. But I mean, you can do what you want to do, but like we don't feel less to anybody.
Commissioner Barnes, let me ask you this. As you're speaking and delivering your message about, and I see how enthusiastic you are about your conference, you have the demeanor of a coach that is encouraging her players, right? And I just want to ask you this, right? You took a career track that went from the court to being an executive in athletics. From what I understand, that's an unusual track right now. There are not many executives in athletics who were once coaches. Do you think that aspect of being a coach is important for you understanding what's happening on the ground, on those teams, on the athletic field, and how to improve the product and how to relate the product to your fans? Do you think that experience has a significant amount of value?
Oh, absolutely. Because, and I'll say this, when you recruit, like when I was a recruiter, and this is where the people that win, and this is why I will highlight my sisters, because they my girls, they my sorors. When I look at Dawn, I look at Tamika, it's not just enough for you to know what it takes to win, because what it may take to win in the GCAC may not be the same thing it takes to win in another role. And so the key thing is understanding your particular environment and all of the pieces of the environment. Like not just, not just, okay, well, I know this is what a such and such over here is doing, so I'm going to do what they do. But what they do may not work where you at. So when I was recruiting players, I'm watching players, and there were a lot of great players, but every great player didn't necessarily fit my program, didn't fit my personality. And so the key is finding the great player that works great with you. And what I see happen is people just be going, like, when it comes to strategy, like you just looking at what somebody else doing and thinking you're going to replicate it without really understanding what works best for the environment, for the leadership, for the team you're on at the time that you're at. We are a startup. There are some people that can't deal with the chaos of not ever knowing how everything's going to work out. A person who needs to know everything and everything got to be laid out cannot work with me right now in this particular time. We are a startup business. So that means that things may frequently change because we are growing. There are some things that may not be known and we're discovering at the same time. So you have to be uncomfortable with it, with not knowing everything, and just having faith and trusting that my leader is solid. She ain't going to lie to me. She's going to be clear. If it ain't right, she's going to say that, and we're going to keep moving. But there are people who not built to build. There are some people who need a perfect situation. Everything there, I get everything I want. I ain't got to worry about nothing. I just show up and I can perform, and they're great. And so when I think about my experiences as a player, move to coach, and building successful teams, and now having a conference and trying to figure out, well, we in this space, and I'm trying to figure out how I can get the right people on my team and figure out how we move this thing and be able to do a whole lot of work, but we don't have a lot of money, and we don't necessarily have all of the full funding that's needed. We don't have a full staff. Again, I'm a staff of one with a whole bunch of independent contractors. So the people that I have brought on as independent contractors, man, I got the Avengers. The team I have is unbelievable, but understand that everything that we've accomplished in 2 years is because I could recruit, and I know how to understand the environment I'm in and what type of person will fit the type of situation we have. And those are the things that I feel like in terms of when you're thinking about how you can be successful, those things are very critical as a leader. And beneficial. So it's unfortunate sometimes that you don't always see former athletes and coaches get these opportunities, But I can tell you the experiences that we've had from competition, being able to, recruiting, managing, finding the right coach, all of those kinds of skills have helped inform how I'm leading right now the conference. So it's just, and like I said, my sorors, they understand their situation. They understand who they are. They understand the type of person that's going to work well. That's why they're having success where they are. And wherever they go, they know they can replicate success because they understand those key things. And that's what it's about. We just want to do a good job. I want this conference to be a solid conference. So when I do transition, whenever that happens, that someone can kind of step in and continue to build on top of, right? That's the responsibility of a builder. That's what I am. I'm a builder. Get it set it up, and then hand that thing off, from a track. I ran track. So at some point you got to pass that baton on. But you set the foundation. I was built for that. Everybody can't look at from scratch and participate. Like, I was built to do this kind of stuff. So let me come in and build it, and then I'm going to pass it on.
You're muted, Coach Cole, but I want to ask, you need to unmute, Coach Cole. Well, I wanted to ask this question. Who is with nowadays in college athletics, a significant amount of their income comes from their media rights partners, right? Yeah. And I just want to know, who is your media rights partners? Where can we see, GCAC or HBCU AC action the rest of this spring and then upcoming in the fall?
So listen, y'all, go download the HBCU Plus app. We are proud media rights partners with Urban Edge Network and HBCU Plus. They have been amazing partners. Our championships with the team that they have assembled at HBCU Plus, it's just amazing. Marcus and Lisa are the husband and wife team that does the production. They are phenomenal. We are so grateful for them, and our productions are comparable to ESPN. You've got commentary. We've got sideline reporters. My director of communication, Danny, did a good job of building us a media team, people who have joined, and they do sideline reporting. They do a phenomenal job, is all I'm going to say. It's going to be informative. You're going to learn more about our coaches, our players. You'll learn more about our institutions. They just do a phenomenal job. And you can watch it all on HBCU Plus. That's where it's going to be. All the action will be there. And we're
so
really
are all schools broadcast each game broadcast, or is there a game of the week format or something like that? How's it?
Every school broadcasts on their own, but every school isn't doing production ESPN style. So if you're tuning in just like for a regular game, those are doing by the individual schools. And some schools have some relationships with like their communications team, and they have some support. All schools don't have that. But now the championships are all, we do the production for those. It's part of our relationship with HBCU Plus. So those are all full production, 3-4 different camera angles, interviews in the huddle, coming out, commercials. I mean, you get the full, you can put it on your TV and you're watching TV, you're watching the championships, and it's amazing. It's no different from anything else you've seen on TV. So for our championships, full production that we do with, HBCU Plus does as a part of our relationship. So we hope that you'll check it out. It's top notch. I will say that I feel really confident in saying we probably have the top conference championship production in sports. Not in the NAIA. I'm talking about period. They do a phenomenal job.
You're muted, Coach Cole. You need to unmute.
Are you? Oh, I'm sorry. Are you? I just been enjoying what you've been saying. I mean, it sounds so familiar. Being from a Black college, HBCU, and just your knowledge and your stretch and your vision. Your vision that you can take this conference to greater heights. Are you in touch with ESPN or HBCU Go as well? Is that something maybe in the future? Because ESPN
That's the competition, man. I can't talk about them. HBCU Plus is our partner.
Okay. I didn't know. I didn't know if the swag has some issues. You remember Rocky with
Well, I think what Coach Cole is alluding to is that do you have any? Does HBCU Plus have your primary and secondary rights?
They have all our rights, and we'll work with anybody if they want to distribute. Look, we'll do that distribution deal. The Urban Edge Network and myself, sure, we'll entertain distribution rights other places, if we so desire. But yes, all of our rights are with Urban Edge Network and HBCU Plus. Again, like I said, anybody want to do some distribution, we can talk about some monetary compensation to make that happen.
Now, I want you to explain to our viewers that you are the commissioner. You're not at one of the colleges, and so you got to generate your commission money pretty much.
Oh man!
And that's why you're doing it. Ain't like the colleges are feeding money into you. It's like you got to go and make it happen.
No, exactly. Like I said, I got the president's hired me and said you got to go find some more money, because we ain't gonna continue to be paying these dues and not get nothing out the deal. So the media rights deal was the first part of that. The second revenue generating tentpole, I guess, in terms of when you think about our conference as a business plan, we've got media rights. Secondly, we have relationships with cities. So remember, I said the conference's assets are the championships. And remember, I have to monetize championships. So we have been working collectively with cities to bring our events to their city. So with track and volleyball, the Shreveport Bossier Sports Commission is our partner, meaning that they put in a bid. So there's a competition amongst cities for us. There are costs associated with that these cities are delivering on behalf. We deliberate the bids, and then we figure out which one is going to be best for our institutions. They have to pay the bid fee, which is a revenue pool for the conference. So that's another that we didn't have that prior to me starting. We didn't have a media rights deal. We didn't have bid fees coming in. And then, of course, providing other support. So with all our championships, all of our hosts host a reception on behalf of the city for our student athletes, for our coaches. That's a requirement for anyone who wants to bid on our events. You got to host us. We've got to make this a great event for the city and treat our schools and our student athletes at the highest level. We want our athletes to feel like they're not missing anything because they came to a smaller HBCU or a smaller school, because you hear these conversations around lower not having same quality. That's when you hear the chat, I'm gonna go to the bigger school because I get better. Well, that's not the case for the GCAC. You're gonna get the best. Our awards are custom, and we redesigning the new awards. I'm telling y'all already, that reveal come the new year. Whoo, when I tell you them new awards gonna be on fire.
Well, we're gonna have to get on you. Make sure we contact.
I'm coming back. Invite me back.
so we can go and broadcast the game or something and talk great. Let me ask you, as a commissioner, the money was important. We want to make sure we talk about the money and what y'all was doing. How much does a commission? I guess some coaches part. How much do a commissioner play a part in hiring coaches at the different colleges?
Oh yeah,
we get involved with that.
We don't have no part of that. Okay. Look, we don't have no part of that. People hire who they want.
Do you recommend? Do you just kind of hands off who they get? That's who you're gonna work with and move forward.
That's not my role. My role is management coach. That's ADs. ADs hire who they want for their team. Commissioner has no role in that. Okay. I would never want to have a role unless I would never want to be involved in that. But it's not the jurisdiction for the commissioner. It's not the commissioner's role to hire people on the campuses. That's why they have ADs. Our job is to help a collective group of people work towards the betterment of our individual institutions as well as our conference so we can get this money. That literally is my role. How do we present the best of ourselves? What are the opportunities that help us collectively work together to get as much money as we can get?
Okay. So are there any overarching issues in college athletics that a commissioner would address? Like one of the reasons why Coach asked you that question, Dr. Barnes, is because we had a long discussion yesterday about how do we create diversity among college athletic administration and also college coaching, right?
And pretty much African Americans.
African American, create opportunities for African American and women in coaching, right? We read a report card from a study that was done where the disparities in coaching hadn't improved in probably 30 years. When you talk about the number of, the percent of coaches versus the percentage players, when you talk about the number of white ADs that there are, it's over 80%. And then so on and so forth. There are a lot of different disparities in the college administration, in athletics, and in coaching. How, as an AD, how is that something that you would address if it was brought up to you as an issue by your council or your board?
So I have a personal program called So You Want a Career in Athletics that's focused on helping strengthen the pipeline of women working in sport. There are a number of programs aimed at doing this, but the reality of it, of career advancement, is way more nuanced. The thing that has to happen is, in order to move in careers, based on what I've experienced, you have to have a network and you have to have people who know you. And the question is, how do I think about it as a coach, become more visible to potential presidents who are looking for ADs, or an administrator, as an assistant AD maybe, and I want to move up to be an AD. Well, how do presidents hire ADs, and then you have this phenomenon with search firms that presidents are now hiring to hire ADs. So there are two pathways right now. You either gotta, search firms have to say you good, or you hopefully be in some company of some presidents. And so the nuances of networking and being in the right spaces is really the bigger challenge than it is people actually being qualified to do the work. There are also nuances within the college athletics world. And so I always talk about some of my challenges personally as an athletic director for 16 years. I applied for jobs in the SWAC. I applied for Sunbelt, Southland, and I got from every search firm, it was, you're at the NAIA though. So they never could get past me being at the NAIA. It didn't matter that I had led successfully for 15 years. You're just at the NAIA. It didn't translate. Like, it just did not translate. And I'm sitting up here like, but y'all keep hiring people that ain't never been in charge. Like,
is basketball different in the NAIA or something? Is it a square ball or something like that?
I'm talking about transitioning from between levels. Okay. Right. So it is way more nuanced than people understand. So when I have young people reach out to me and say things like, what advice would you give me if I want to be a Power 5 AD? I will say, well, then you need to work at all Power 5 schools, because currently, in the way that people view experience and movement within the industry, they don't see skills being transferable, and they don't equate being the athletic director at small school is the same as being in a big school. There are reasons why. Regardless, it doesn't matter. So I would say if your desire is to be FBS, then you need to spend all your time in FBS because one, the FBS people have to get to know you. Well, how do you get to know those people if you're never around them? I would say it's the same thing in the HBCU space or any of the other conferences. If your desire was to be on the West Coast in one of the West Coast conferences, then you need to go find a school in that conference and you need to start as an intern somewhere and develop relationships, right? Because what you need to move up is you need access and you need a network. So we have to be more strategic around those particular pieces.
Well, see, if I could piggyback off of that, and that's some of the things that we were discussing. And Dr. Barnes, the reason why I even started this podcast was to introduce the world to Black coaches. And, you know, you said it earlier when we first started out, why is there different if we worked at a Black school and coached and won a championship? Why we can't
because they don't see it as comparable.
Exactly. But then when some people are hearing you now saying, well, if you want to work at an FBS school, then that's where you got to go.
Yeah.
And if you want to, you know, work down here, then that's where we'll go. But then one would say, oh, well, you're putting a ceiling on your head. And that's just one of the things I start. It shouldn't be, but it is. But then here's the other white elephant in the corner is that now, even at the HBCU level, we are hard more Caucasians in all the other sports. Now it's like our windows are closing, especially at HBCUs. All we can now coach is football, and some Black schools now are starting to hire white coaches as head football coaches, basketball, and surely the other ones, soccer and volleyball. It just squeezing us out. What you think your answer would be to that?
Let me just say, I'm always trying to find the best coach. I don't care if they Black, white, or blue. I want to win. So I will say, just from a perspective of a person who has produced highly successful teams, I'm just trying to find the best person. I create my profile. I know exactly what needs to happen. I know what skills I'm looking for and what is going to help. And again, the key thing is understanding that what makes me successful at small HBCU may not be the same skills that's required at maybe a larger school. It really doesn't matter as long as you understand. If you're the leader, you just have to understand what it would take and what kind of person. So I will say that starting with profiles, first of all, and understanding what key things are needed for a person to be successful is really clear. You have to do that first. So I'm just putting that out in the atmosphere because honestly, I don't care. I'm looking for winners. If you can win and you can get it done, you can be on my team. But in the conversation around advancement for minorities, it really is. We just have to understand how people see it, and then we have to create a strategy to deal with the system as it is. I am not the person that's necessarily trying to change the system. I have assessed what's going on, and now I have a strategy for working around the system. Case in point, we were only getting one team into the national tournament because we fighting with the subjectivity of ratings. Well, within our system in the NAIA, you get 10 teams, you get 2 bids automatic. And what I said to them from a short-term strategy, let's get these members. So we're going to get 2 teams in. And then we'll work on the long-term strategy is, one, I got to have solid raters. I got to get some coaches who've been in the game because it's a relationship thing. If I know you, I mean, think about this, y'all. The coaches be doing the ratings, right? Man, you know they trying to figure out how to get their team in some kind of way. But right. You also have to develop relationships. So there's some work my coaches have to do in terms of developing, strength of schedule. You hear all this strength of schedule, all these kinds of things. Well, y'all, if we know that these are the rules, get it done. I was like, I don't understand. You go play nobody but mad because you ain't getting ranked. Like, I don't want to. Let me just say this. I'm not hearing that. So my response to them is, one, you got to go play them. Then second, you got to beat them. So it's not one thing to go and play. I was like, let me tell you something. I was a competitor. I played basketball. Almost beat me don't matter. You got to beat me to respect you. So why are we crying, talking about, man, we went and played them to 5. You ain't win. You ain't win. And let me say this. You know you ain't recruit good enough. And then you want to come back and talk about the HBCUs and give me nothing. No, you ain't going hard. Now, this is me. This is Coach Kiki coming out. Like,
yeah, I see.
I don't want to hear that. I'm like, if we say we bout it, be bout it. Figure out what we need to do. We know we need big men. We know we need big women, you know, in terms of like size for basketball, right? We know what we supposed to have. Stop making excuses. Go find us some players, right? And then you need to commit to developing them kids. And then let's go and compete. But you saw that happen this year for basketball in the SWAC, right? You saw us go compete and win, not play them in the 5 points, right? And so you start seeing those things. So it's like we have to, again, like I said, I'm not necessarily the change the system person. I'm just saying this is what it is. And if we say we want to win, we done figured out the system, do what's needed, make it happen, and then make them change the system again. Because every time we start figuring out, they change it.
They always move the mark, like, don't they? They always move it one.
They can move the market every time. Guess what? And we always there.
Yeah.
When have we never not bet it? So, I mean, for the people who want to change it, you can go do that. I just don't have the time. I'm just trying to win right now. And so right now, like, I understand what it is. We need to recruit these teams and we need to get the 10. So everybody was like, bet. So now we got our 2 bids and we had two people in national championship. We did that real quick and easy. Now the long-term piece is us working on schedule and going and beating people and letting them know we here. Langston did a great job this year doing that, right? Yeah. Did a great job. Last year we had Tulu didn't receive a vote, right? For the top 25, wound up being in the top 8. They hadn't lost a game by the time they got to the conference last year, but ratings, right?
Right.
It's okay. They went and did what needed to be done. They lost to College of Idaho at in the top 8 last year, which was the team that went on to win the national championship and was the team that Langston beat. They beat last year's champion to go to the championship this year. But I'll say that those are the things in terms of when we're talking about moving up and trying to figure out how to navigate all this stuff. It's very critical if you desire to be, you know, at FBS, whatever level you desire to be, you've got to enter that space. You've got to get to develop those relationships and have the access. So that's one part of it, being in the right space. And then you got to be good. People be talking about they deserve shots that ain't got no receipts. Like, how are you talking about you should be a coach when you ain't help nobody else with? Like,
Let me ask you. Let me switch gears for a minute. What are you guys? You go out and get the conference uniforms, or do y'all have Nike, Adidas, you each school kind of individually do their own thing?
Yeah, every school does their own thing, right? We haven't done a conference apparel deal. And let me just be honest, I don't know if we're going to see. It'll have to be something really good. People, I will say that coaches are very particular about what they want to wear. I was a Nike Michael Jordan fan. Like, I only wanted to wear Nike. Some people only want to do Adidas. Now you got New Balance and Under Armour with Steph, and you got all these other brands. I will say that
money talk though, don't it?
But it's got to be a money deal. The only deals we get is like discount deals. We ain't got no real money deal yet. And I will put that on my list of something I need to do, right? Go get us some money. Like, find a company who is going to give all my schools their apparel so we don't have to pay for apparel. That's something I need to figure out. So, I mean, I think if I could bring something like that to my ADs, that's a different kind of thing. But basically, all we've gotten is stuff where people are like, well, we'll give you 30% off the gear, and then they mark it up by 30%. Come on now. Come on now. What discount we really got?
Hey, Dr. Barnes, we have a comment here that says, Dr. Kiki, can you speak on Jamal, I guess, Tall Gibson and all his success? and
Oh,
what the message
Jamal.
can you send to future players in the conference?
Hey, you know what? What I'll say is, if you're good, as people always say, they'll find you. Now, I do think Jamal looking to take his talents elsewhere. You know, I think the hard part about the NIL era right now, where kids can just move around, is that they may come to one of our schools looking to get, they see this as a stepping stone. They don't see this as their end game. So I do believe that he is looking for other opportunities. But what I'll say is Jamal never would have been seen and would have been recruited by nobody if he hadn't got an opportunity with us. And so I hope Jamal will remember that, he got his opportunity because James Matthews, the AD there, gave him a shot. He got his start here, and I just hope he does that. But I think that's one of the things that's really changed the game. I saw someone post that in the state of Louisiana that there were like less than 50 kids that signed, high school kids that signed scholarships. And that's because coaches are like, I ain't got time to be developing no kid that's going to be able to play by junior year. Man, it's a kid in the portal that been through college workouts, has gone through like that. That's going to be a lot further along. That can help me get my team to whatever goal they're trying to get to, and maybe get them to their win or elevate the status of that team a lot quicker than a kid that I need to spend 2 years developing. And so I don't want us to become like this stepping stone for kids to come here 1 year and then treat us kind of like we like junior college and then start jetting, where my coaches are having to basically rebuild every other year. And I think most coaches probably are feeling that right now. But Jamal he's been amazing. It was fun. He earned the respect. He got National Player of the Week 2 weeks out of the year. I don't know if we've ever, and we may have, I'll have to go do some searching. I don't know if we done had National Players of the Week. He really brought the thunder. You know what I'm saying? So we're really grateful for his talent. And if he winds up somewhere else, I mean, I'm happy for him, but sad that he wouldn't have, come back to defend his title.
Real quick, I know you've heard the Nick Saban talk with Congress about NILs and collective, and I've heard all the comments about, well, you wasn't saying nothing when y'all were up underneath the table. And me and Rocky, we had this thing about it as well. And, because I come from a coaching standpoint and Rocky come from a fan standpoint to say, look, I just want to see the best players. If he over at Nebraska this year and he at the University of Pittsburgh, I don't care. I just want to see him play. But as a coach, put your coaching hat on. It's tough. It's tough. And my answer was always, I want to see them get paid. But somehow they got to put some handlebars on it and make sure the players are paid right, because there's the NIL money, which you can't control, but at least you can control the collective money, So
yeah,
my take on it, but it's tough.
Oh, it's absolutely tough, but I also agree that the players should be paid. And I will tell you, the line was drawn in the sand for me when Ed Orgeron from LSU when LSU won the championship, national championship with Joe Burrow and that crew. And when he renegotiated his contract, I think, if I'm correct, there was a $9 or $10 million life insurance policy in his renegotiation.
With Joe Burrows or Orgeron?
No, with Orgeron.
Okay, yeah, with Orgeron. Yeah, okay.
And I'm not mad he got a life insurance policy. I'm just saying the people who actually did the work, they get nothing but a degree and a trophy and whatever they got that night to say that they won, but they families ain't set. They don't have no money where they don't have when they die, that they kids, they future kids and grandkids and family gonna be set. This man's great grandkids set off of these kids who did this work. I'm like, something ain't right about that.
Right.
Y'all, something ain't right about that.
Well, when you talk about college athletics, you're talking about it's a multi-billion-dollar business. And when you come into that kind of money as a business, and you realize that the product is actually not being compensated, the people that are the crop, so to speak, is being harvested for free. You know what I mean?
Literally.
You got players out here. What, in other words, and what I find very ironic is, for a long time, coaches were okay with players not getting paid, at the same time constantly seeking better opportunities for themselves. And that's what I find ironic in the situation, is that now that the players have just as much opportunity as the coaches, the coaches have a problem with it. Like, that's what I find kind of ironic, because it never was a problem when Coach Cole left Allen, when Coach Cole left, whatever he was coaching. Like, you left some players there, and you may have taken some with you, the ones that could. At the end of the day, you couldn't take all of them, right? Yeah. And all those guys came to play for you, Coach Cole. And at the end of the day, that was the situation over and over again with coaches. And now the coaches feel like somehow the system is unfair and leaves them at a disadvantage. This is what I'll say right now. Coaches are highly compensated right now.
Yeah, on the back of the kid.
Yeah.
Like you ain't nothing without the players. Like, so I mean, for me, I don't want to hear it. Them kids need to get paid, and we need to figure it out. And I will say that anytime whatever we see is a mirror. Kids copy. They do what they see. When we are from birth, like, it's so funny. Like, I've watched babies. Like, we try to figure out, like, babies can't speak, but they can understand. And so they spend their time imitating everything we're doing until they can actually do it. So what we see right now is those kids reflecting our own behaviors. And it's ugly, because we like, oh, but because when we view ourselves, we don't see ourselves in the light. Now we're looking at them with all this judgment. Well, like, they only doing what they saw us do. You went for greener pastures. I'm going for greener pastures. If you can make money, I can make money.
Mm-hmm.
And how is it fair for somebody's whole family to live for generations, and I did all the work and I got a degree? I ain't paying no bills with no degree.
Someone pointed out in an article that Nick Saban has made an estimated over $100 million in his coaching career, largely coaching Black and brown players, for which none of those players will be left anything when he retires or when he passes on. And that's one of the issues that, and again, I'll say this. I think the answer in all of this, Dr. Barnes, I want to hear your response to this, is at some point the coaches, not the coaches, the schools who get these large amount of donations from these donors who make lots of money from media rights deals, right, that are passed through their conference. The answer is always should go back to the schools need to compensate the players, especially at the Division I or V level. That's how you can get control of this. But the schools, for whatever reason, don't want the responsibility of making direct to players. Do you understand why that? Can you explain to me why that is? That the schools don't want that responsibility?
Well, one of them, so I remember, some of the conversation was around at the point that you enter into an employee-employer relationship, then all of the employee taxes, benefits, all those things apply. And what I can tell you is, ain't nobody going to be open but the Power 5, because nobody else can afford it. Like, you got to so when we're talking about, we don't right now, for anybody that's not a Power 5, they can't afford the staffs they have. It's not just the HBCUs that have limited staff. All these other small Division I's got the same problem. It's just that when you Black, you get double taxed.
Like, black tax is what they call it.
we just get double taxed for it. Like, it's like, oh, you black, you double taxed. But I can tell you, it's some HBCUs doing better than some of these other schools. But because we black, it's like, well, nah, you're not as high as another mid major. What are we saying? I can tell you, though, if it was a blanket bill, that was passed and said all schools that offer college sports now have to pay their players and have to go into the relationship, all athletic programs going to be shut down because we can't afford it. We can't even afford the staff that we need to do it. So now you're telling me every player got to be an employee? I got to pay tax on every player? I got to pay benefits on every player? They can only work 40 hours a week. Like, how much? Like that, it is not practical for that relationship to happen. If they so desire to do that, then that Power 5 needs to just become a semi-pro league where they can do that. But they're the only ones that can do that. There's nobody outside of the SEC and the Big Ten that can do that.
Most schools, most athletic programs don't make enough money to run the athletic department.
No. USA Today used to put out this big old thing, like where they would show the expenses for like the top 50, like Power 5,
25. It wasn't number the SEC schools in the Big Ten at the time.
Big 12. Profit.
Yeah, Big 12. Yeah, Texas was number one. Shit, every year.
Everybody else is operating at a loss.
Right.
Everybody's operating at a loss. And when you couple that, specifically when you're thinking about HBCUs, when you couple that with knowing that we've been underfunded and all those other things where they ain't gave us our money, they've been with the government's been withholding money. Like, you add that on top, it'll shut us down. We would, if we wanted the institutions to survive, we would have to not even have sports now. And so when you think about it, like, man, we can't even have sports at all.
Well, what if this, Dr. Barnes, what if we had a world where the football, men's basketball, and women's basketball wasn't forced to be subsidies for the non-revenue sports such as golf and track and water polo and tumbling and gymnastics and all of those sports? What if we had a world where football didn't have to subsidize those sports and they could just operate autonomously? Would it be enough revenue just to compensate the football players?
It depends. I mean, if we could get media rights deals that'll pay us our worth, I mean, yeah, we could do a lot of things. But what happens is we're trying to figure out how to do the best of what we have, what we can, to be able to compete. And so that's why these conversations that people have, we need to be FBS, HBCUs, it's asinine. It is like, you basically want the school to close so you can compete with somebody that you can't compete with. And it's not a bad thing that we can't compete. You have to look at the numbers. Like, I be sitting up looking like, these people are delusional.
Right.
LSU's athletics department is larger than Dillard's actual almost faculty staff. When I was at Dillard, I remember sitting up thinking we had like 200 some employees. They got 200 employees in LSU's athletic department. Like, what are we talking about? Like, we're not comparing apples to apples or oranges to oranges. And so I'm saying it with this kind of expression because, y'all, it is like insane. It's like these institutions are businesses. Okay? Our revenue source is tuition. You got, you have a development team who raise some money. You have professors who get grants. And then you have athletics at most of the smaller schools that don't have the big distributions coming from their conferences like SEC. And you want to tell us that we need to be doing all the stuff they doing? Like, that is just, it's not reasonable.
Right. No,
from a business standpoint, like, it's not reasonable. And then, now I'm just gonna say this, and it was so funny. So remember when they came out with the straight, when Dr. Dre and them did the biopic, and it was like Straight Outta, and my good sis that used to be at Alabama State, Jennifer Lynn, who's at USA, had a shirt that said Straight Outta comp tickets. There's nobody want to pay. Like, remember, this is a business. So we got several ways we can make money: ticket sales, corporate sponsorships, media rights, like, and then apparel. Half our schools don't even have licensing because everybody on the street just pulling the logo from the internet and selling stuff. And then if you ask them to pay a license fee, because that would help the school, it's like, oh, I went to this school and I haven't paid all this money for tuition. I shouldn't have to pay a licensing fee. I will tell you that when you go to an LSU or Alabama, they have these big old suites. And guess what? They charge them people money to pay for them suites. And then the people who own them suites give away tickets. We be at HBCUs like I'm the president or the vice president, and I'm supposed to have a suite for free. Well, if I'm giving you if that's the asset we supposed to be selling, but you claim you desire it because you have a position of authority and you want to host all your friends so you can get clout with your people, we ain't making no money. Right. And like, so there are philosophical things in our space. We don't believe we should pay for anything. I ain't paying to come into nothing. I went to this school. I ran this joint. I ain't paying for nothing. Over at LSU, they got Tyrann Mathieu for $1 million. Yeah, he paid $1 million. I don't know if they named a scholarship in his name. Now he one of the best players to come through there. He on the Saints now. He from New Orleans. That's why I called him. But I remember when they did the announcement about him giving $1 million back. And I mean, well, he was a big time player. He was in the league.
I think he's the Players Lounge or something like that. I think that's what it was. I'm not sure, but maybe
he gave him $1 million. I was like, and if we was to ask our players to come back, we'll be like, pay what? I gotta pay what? What? You asking me to pay? And then we'll tell everybody that's why I don't support that school anyway, asking me to pay like I hadn't done ABCD for this school. It's like, well, it is a business. And if we don't sell the space, guess what? Them people that work the ticket office, all them expenses that go along with sport, we still got to pay them. And you want to know why we don't have a new facility or why we haven't upgraded the facility? Well, I mean, you don't invest. You don't want to pay.
You know, you talk about something that I think plagues our community as a whole, not just HBCUs, where we often devalue what we consider Black and pay a premium for what we consider white. And so that's so unfortunate for a lot of us. Being a Black entrepreneur, that's always frustrating sometimes to deal with. But again, I love my people and I'll never give up on us, but we have to understand.
I'm just saying, I think it's important for us to understand those things. And I think we have to say it. Now, it's going to piss people off, but it's like, now I can say this better than the way I say. Y'all interviewing me, so you're getting the raw version of me. Like, I wouldn't say this to my alumni if I were talking.
Hey, we just bring that. Hey, look, we real on this show. We just bring that out.
Here.
So you're getting it from a soapbox space, but when I worked on campus, part of my job as AD at the time was educating them on how we fund this. Like, well, how does this happen? And the question would be, well, why we don't have that? Was the question I would get from somebody about, well, why we don't have this? And I'd say, let's go talk about it. And then I open up the books. I start walking through. Here's how many students. Here's how much to feed. Here's my budget. Then I start pulling other stuff. And then I say, here's what we're trying to do with what we have. And they be like, oh, I ain't know. How can I help you? I'm glad you asked. And then from that point, we started working collectively. We find one thing we were going to try to make better. And then we work collectively to build. And then those people helped carry the water for me and started bringing other people to the table saying, man, you got to go talk to the AD, man. She good. Like, because again, people make up narratives. Like, they have their own narrative. Them people don't care about us. They ain't trying to do nothing. I was like, these things are not true. But it's the education part of it. So again, on this interview, you hear me soapboxing. But when I'm dealing with people in my role where I'm trying to move things forward, it's really spending the time to educate people on, well, here's where we are. Here's what it really costs. You want to know what it costs to host a kid? Want to understand why we don't all have scholarships? A scholarship is a discount. It's just saying to this one person that it may cost $10,000, but because I gave you a scholarship for $5,000, you just don't have to pay $5,000. So to you, it's $5,000. For everybody else, it's $10,000. Yeah. But every time we give a scholarship, we basically discount our value.
Right.
Which means that that the cost for food services is a hard cost. The cost for benefits is a hard cost. So now we have to figure out if we are scholarshiping at this level, then what are we making up the difference? Because the bill is the bill. The water bill still going, we still got to pay the water bill. We still got to pay the food people. We still got people at work. All of those things still have to be covered. And we can't do that on air and clout and love. From a business standpoint, as an institution of higher learning.
Well, hey, Doc, man, you don't gave it to us. You don't gave it to us. And I know I've been in black colleges all my days, and I really couldn't say nothing. You don't hit on everything. You don't got the potatoes, the steak. You don't talk about my girls, Don and all of them, So look, Doc, we're gonna have to bring you back, and maybe you can bring another because we gotta educate our black folks. Everything you said was true. I've lived it, man. I've been to it and heard it and everything. But we don't know that. We don't understand all those costs and why we should pay and why we should support and why across the track things look better and things a lot shinier. It's because it's been bought. It's been paid for. So yeah, we definitely got to do that. And we don't want to take up all your time, man. We just happy. Hey, we get going. See, Doc, we'll keep you here for 2-3 hours, But
I have enjoyed our time. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you all. It's been amazing.
We're gonna have to get on your sports information director and get on y'all list. And next week we're headed down to Alabama State.
Okay.
We're gonna put this thing on the road, go down there and watch their spring game, and eventually we want to follow the SWAC around. And now we're gonna follow the GCA around, GCA or the HBCU U of A.
Yeah.
HBCU AC.
Yeah, we got to get that down. Yeah, so we can get that down, and we definitely we need a conference of following basketball anyway.
Yes. So we definitely need y'all to do that. You will enjoy it. We can talk about that. We'll talk about that. We can
and they have a Texas school in their conference too. They got Wiley.
Yep, we got Wiley.
Yeah. Wiley College. Yeah, I know about all that.
They changed it to university, Coach. They Wiley University now. They just changed it this year.
Wow. Now, Edward Waters basketball is still in y'all conference.
No. Edward Waters moved to Division II. They left us 3 years ago.
The basketball program too. Okay. Because I was, going through my homework. We serious about it here. We get the homework on you. So okay, but hey, man, it's been a wonderful interview, and it also we will send you a copy, and it also will be shown on Friday as well as Monday. On AJ Jones show. Yeah, and then this show here is live because we wanted to make sure that we go live. You don't need no tape delay. You got it all right there, man. Hey, I can see you had some players. You won some football. I mean, some basketball games because you was motivated me.
Look, I was all right. I don't think I was that great coach.
We gotta see. I'm trying to blackenize Rocky. He balanced. He's so balanced. I gotta blackenize him.
Hey, coach. I don't know for sure, but I think she won some games, coach. I think she won some games, coach.
Just a few.
Yes.
And
not very many. I would say that I was a very good athlete. I did well as an athlete. My earlier years of coaching, I was pretty good. When I took the role as AD and head coach at Dillard, I wouldn't say I was that great of a coach. I had too much going on. I was rebuilding a program after Katrina, and it was a really tough time. I think I was good at motivational, but wins, I didn't have as many wins as I would have liked to have. But I would say that as an administrator, yeah.
Like I said, as an administrator, you're highly decorated, Dr.
Yes,
Barnes,
sir.
and I do see that. And so maybe if the wins didn't come on the court, they came off the court. So that's and that works too.
Now, was Miss Emily Jones at Dillard when you was there?
Who
Emily
is that?
Jones over financial aid. Emily Jones over financial aid.
Emily, I know that name. I think.
Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know. Today, it's Monday, April 1st, 2024. Number 1, the entertainment world and fans everywhere are celebrating the life and mourning the death of legendary award-winning actor Louis Gossett Jr. His family announced his March 28th death. The Brooklyn, New York native was the first black performer to win the Best Supporting Actor Academy Award for his role as Marine Gunnery Sergeant Emil Foley in An Officer and a Gentleman, opposite actor Richard Gere. Prior to his Oscar win, Louis Gossett won an Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor for his portrayal of Fiddler in the groundbreaking television series Roots. Louis Gossett Jr. was 87 years old. The cause of death not immediately revealed. Number 2, major efforts ramped up over the last several days to clear the Patapsco River in the wake of the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, Maryland. As efforts continue to search for construction workers presumed dead, one question surrounds the tragedy. Who were these men? They were originally from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Mexico. The search for bodies was paused Wednesday as attention turned to clearing debris from the deadly collapse and reopening the port of Baltimore. Number 3. The internet was abuzz last week with the news of actress Halle Berry sharing a story of a herpes scare during a fireside chat with First Lady Dr. Jill Biden, when in fact the actress was entering perimenopause. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Berry recalled having extreme pain after sex and going to the doctor, who told her she had the worst case of herpes he'd ever seen. She was tested and did not end up having herpes. As a matter of fact, it was a symptom of perimenopause due to dryness. While this led Berry to become an advocate for menopause, it reminds us how medical and structural racism affects our care. Number 4, Lamont Johnson, a 44-year-old black man, was shot and killed by Detroit officers Tyler Nagy and Raul Martinez in October of 2018. On March 15th, in the U.S. District Court, Eastern District of Michigan, a federal jury awarded his family more than $1.5 million in damages after they filed a wrongful death lawsuit. The $1.5 million included $4,800 for funeral expenses, $100,000 for conscious pain and suffering, $420,000 for lost wages, $86,000 for medical expenses, and $900,000 for past and future loss of society and companionship. Number 5, it's Ministry Monday. Proverbs 22:4 defines humility as the fear of the Lord. Its wages are riches and honor and life. Humility is also freedom from pride or arrogance. Humility is doing nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but count others more significant than ourselves. That's Philippians 2:3. Humble people are not boastful. They don't flaunt their wealth or accomplishments. And if they talk about those things, they give God the credit. Amen. Read more about humility in today's newsletter. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. Being patient means allowing time to unfold naturally and understanding that some things are beyond our control. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central with our social justice contributor, Coy Malone, as we discuss today's top headlines and more. Thank you to our What You Need to Know partners, the American Heart Association and Black Health Matters. I'm Sybil Wilkes. Be informed, be empowered.
I won $500 on the lunch money for keeping up with the Jonas Bracket Challenge.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.